How Jeffrey Dahmer got killed in prison. Jeffrey Dahmer, a serial murderer wanted by Milwaukee police for the deaths of 17 men between 1978 and 1991, was apprehended in the early 1990s. Though his death occurred 3 decades ago, the misdeeds of Jeffrey Dahmer are being taught to a new generation through Evan Peters' portrayal in the Netflix miniseries Dahmer Monster: The Jeffrey Dahmer Story. The question can be raised here. How did he die? Was it suicide? Or was he killed by someone? But he was in prison. How can he be killed? Well, today we'll discuss it all. According to the reports, on November 28, 1994, Christopher Scarver, an inmate at the same facility, beat Dahmer to death. Both of the inmates were incarcerated in the Wisconsin facility known as the Columbia Correctional Facility. Even though Jeffrey Dahmer committed heinous atrocities, he was not given the death penalty because the state of Wisconsin was the first in the nation to do away with the practice of capital punishment in the year 1853. Scarver, who was also incarcerated at the same time as Dahmer in 1992 and was serving a 25-year term for a murder that occurred during an armed robbery, arrived at the jail about the same time as Dahmer. The security of the serial killer was a big concern for the people working in the correctional facility. At the time, a report published in the New York Times stated that Dahmer had spent his first year in solitary confinement for his protection. The authorities of the state believed that killing him would win a convict an honored status in the prison world because he was one of the most notorious killers in the state. After some time, the authorities determined that he could be safely mixed in with the community of 622 other inmates. An attempt on Dahmer's life was undertaken in July 1992. That attempt was made by a fellow inmate to cut Jeffrey Dahmer's throat with a handmade plastic knife. The staff at the correctional facility were confident that it would be the only event of its kind. It was common knowledge that Dahmer irritated the other convicts. According to Scarver, the serial killer taunted other inmates with prison food that he fashioned to seem like severed limbs, and he would drizzle packets of ketchup on top of the food to make it appear as if it were blood. In 2015, Scarver related this story to the New York Post, saying, "He would plant them in places where people would be. He crossed the line with certain people, including prisoners and staff members at the institution. He was not one of the penitent individuals who are currently housed in the facility. Nonetheless, there are several." Well, if you liked today's story so far, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button with all notifications on. Now let's move on. Scarver avoided Dahmer as much as possible due to the cannibal's conduct, but he did not forget to carry a newspaper clipping with him at all times that described the cannibal's atrocities. Scarver finally lost his cool when he became certain that Dahmer had poked him in the rear. He went to the weight room, took a bar made of metal, and confronted Dahmer about the horrors he had committed. "Because I was utterly repulsed by the things he was alleged to have done, I confronted him about them. He was taken aback by it." "I can confirm that he was," Scarver said to the newspaper. "He didn't waste much time in beginning his search for the door. I obstructed his path. It only took 2 blows to the head with the bar to put Dahmer away for good. After an hour from the time he arrived at the hospital, Dahmer was pronounced dead despite having his skull crushed. He was 34. He ended up dead," Scarver remarked. "I put his head down about the killing." Rita Isbell, the sister of Errol Lindsay, who was one of Jeffrey Dahmer's final victims, stated that she had expected Dahmer to be killed while he was incarcerated. According to a report by the New York Times, she had been receiving phone calls for the past 2 years from guys who claimed to be prison prisoners and guaranteeing that Dahmer would be taken care of. She relayed what the callers had said to her, which was, "You don't know me. I'm here with the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. Don't be concerned. We'll see to it that it gets done." She continued by saying, "I wouldn't say I wanted it to happen like this, but Jeffrey tore my family apart." That's all for today. We will be back. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more.